Alrighty, so yesterday's video, we talked a little bit about interior trim. Let's jump outside and we'll talk a little bit about what we did out there and we'll close this baby down. Yeah. So, if you remember, 1852, historic home that we remodeled. Took off a whole bunch of stuff. You know, man, that looks great, doesn't it? The little stone wall, all of that. The little appendage, which, you know, it has historic New Englandness to it just by the massing, right? What would happen years ago, and this is how I was educated, so this isn't me guessing, this is what I'm told. Someone would come and they would build the main house. Then they would have a baby, and they'd put the dormer on and put a couple bedrooms upstairs for the kids. And then you'd get another kid, or family would grow and maybe have a little bit more money, and then they would put an appendage on and put another little living room or a porch or just something. But the reality is New England homes, you know, they always start with, you have a main house and then you put an addition on and you put an addition on and then you put an addition on. And on that addition, maybe you extend it even further next time. But there's this kind of historic kind of sequence of additions to the house that make it a New England house. If you drive through a bunch of old New England towns, you'll be able to see, you know, very prominent. You'd be like, oh, I see the form of the main house, and then look at, they added this, they added that, they added the barn, then they put the connector between the barn and the house, and, you know, developed it. So just the simple massing of this, the fact that we have a detached garage here that's not attached, it just creates this little you know, community of buildings and massing here that suggests New England, right? It's not this huge opposing 3-car garage back there. It's a 1-car garage with a little garden shed attached to it. You know, things like the stone wall here, you know, while it looks pretty, it also allows us to develop some proper grading away from the house. Right? So using the aesthetics of what we're doing as building science features to put this house in a position to succeed. And you've all heard me talk about position to succeed or success. You know, this is a house that's been around 170 years. I want it to be around another 100, 150 years before someone has to go and tear it apart and redo things or rethink things. But anyways, let's talk a little bit about the trim. Very simple. All right, this is, just gonna get a lighter pen if I'm gonna zoom in, right? That's actually, you know, 6/4 sill. So it's 1.5 inches. All right, is that right? Yeah, yeah. Right, so it's, yeah, nice beefy sill, and it extends. We also used on the outside here, this is actually 5/4 stock. This is 5/4 stock too, but notice it's bumped out a little, that 1/4 inch. We actually padded out those heads to get it. The reason for the 5/4 stock is on the side, I personally hate when, I don't know if I can draw this here, when you have the edge of the corner board in the clapboard or lap siding goes right out to the edge like that, right, and touches it. I want a situation where I have that side of the corner board, but I want the lap siding to be inside of it. I want a little dimension here. Right, I want a little bit of a dimension so that I can see that window casing prominent of the siding, not that they're matching up at each one of these joints. So you can see here, there's actually some space there where that siding is going in, as well as the corner boards. You know, those got padded out. So there's a nice beefiness to the trim there. And then, like I said earlier, these are real working shutters. If we go to close this, that actually falls on the center line, and this one would fall also on that center line. This is real working hardware. It actually rotates, and then you can close those. They were not cheap. They're all wood shutters. They're real shutters, real offset hardware on the hinges there. So they fold in and they fold into the opening, right? It's not like you have the wall and then you have the window where when the shutters fold in, they're out here. No, they fold in, there's an offset hinge, and they actually sit in there like that, which is really nice. Now, I don't think these ever got closed. I don't think they would ever get closed, but the historic remodel and the nature of this suggests that we'd use real hardware. And then, of course, you know, all of this, we really didn't have to provide a whole lot of direction because the frieze board, corner boards, all of this was dictated by the Historic Commission in their desire to simply make it look the way it does now. Now, some of it we had to clean up, right up here. Notice though, there's a little shadow line under there, and there's a little shadow line under here. So we have our rain screen behind that system, and we still have, you know, current building science happening there, and we're letting those walls vent to the outside up there, but you would never know it looking at the nice historic nature of the house. And you can see we have our appropriate flashings there, but that nice beefy sill, bringing those windows down to that roof line there. Yeah, just really sets that up to be a quite nice composition overall. Yeah, there's that shot. You know, like I said earlier, I mean, we didn't really have a whole lot of control. The Historic Commission dictated, hey, just put it back the way you had it. So, like I said, my buddy Mike, the builder, he went, they took one corner, they took it off, kind of in still assembled, and had all of the pieces there. So when it went time and working with the cider, we got the appropriate pieces, but we knew exactly how it would go all go back together to solve for it. And like I said, we added the gutter here and then the round downspout here to go down and help out with our water management system there. And then, of course, on the back, right, even though the Historic Commission didn't have any controls for us really on this, we took our cue from, you know, the frieze and all that detail that I just showed you, and then we carried it through. And we replicated, so this and that look, you know, the same. And that roof line came down and we carried it back and then carried this up. And if you remember from the interior, we have our window seat with some dressers there and our high windows. But we solved for the house and solved for modern day requirements. But we took a lot of our keys and cues from that original house back there. We added the little vestibule here with a little front porch. We added the negative space also here, and even our, you know, columns and such. This here reflected a bunch of the moldings there and what's happening up here to the dormer that's happening out front. All of our window trim, even though we're on the back side, it all matched up quite nicely. And you know, the nice thing about this project, and most of my projects, I would say, it's becomes a challenge when the client says, I don't want to spend any money over there. No one's ever going to see that side of the house. Well, I will. And it is somewhat bothersome to me. You can walk all around this house and it just feels like just a really well done, cohesive unit of decisions. So we took that old house and not only did we give it a second life, but I think we gave it and pumped it full of some go-go juice, and it's working that much better for us, right? And then just a few slight details here. You know, notice the columns. Like I said, we doubled them up here to just give this sense of strength on the back porch there. And notice we even did on the wall there, we did a pilaster so it receives that beam nicely. That's how it should be done. We have our deck system here that stepped down, and then we buried a piece of granite in the ground there for the last step. So you're not stepping onto the lawn, water's not running down there, and you're creating this mud pit here that people have to walk through. You actually, the stone. And, you know, one of the things I learned about living in New England, you know, having these stone entryways, you can go up to them and you can really stomp your feet. And you're not going to shake the house. You're not going to hurt the deck or the porch any, because you're stomping a piece of stone. And yeah, granite's a pretty formidable opponent there. And then, you know, we complemented that with a nice clear beadboard finish on the ceiling there. A lot of times you'll see in New England, they'll paint that like a baby blue. I hear, you know, you hear the myths of that. Oh, they do that to keep the bugs and spiders out. I don't know how true that is, but I do hear people talk about that's why those ceilings are painted blue. In this case here, he wanted the natural wood look, and so they got the natural wood look. And lastly, the garage. Even though we go over to the garage, we don't want to create an orphan over there, right? We want to go over there and we want to bring the same water table detail, the same column or corner board detail, the whole same detail at the top, the frieze, everything that's happening here, the rakes, the window trim, the door trim on the door, nice, you know, old world style wooden farmhouse or barn door there. So that really, you know, the detached garage really just completes the picture. When you look over there and you drive up in front of the house and you pull in the driveway, you realize that, yeah, there's a bunch of decisions were made here, but man, it's a nice cohesive unit. So just very enjoyable project to work on. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed that. We'll move on. We'll find some other projects and other stuff to talk about. We got a bunch of projects coming under construction, so we're going to be back out on job sites and stuff, roaming around, walking and talking, and seeing what's going on there too. So a lot to look forward to. So I'm Steve Basic Architect. Until next time, long live our buildings.